Okay, we are now recording. I'll turn time over to you, Curtis, and I'm going to mute it until you need my.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed being able to log in early tonight, and we had a little bit of a conversation going on in the text messaging, but not a lot. That's fine. I enjoyed being able to get in early, so we'll probably be doing this from the future. We've gone through the roll call. We have 8 people who are online and 3 people that we know of who are listening on the phone. Here's our introduction video of my birds dying at 104-degree temperature, which we can't see, so we'll move on. I guess kind of an overview of what we planned for today is we're going to give you guys an update on what our committees are doing. We have lots of people that are working on the committees. They're providing educational tools for all the members so that we can learn about the breed and how to get the results that we want with our flock. And we're also providing educational tools that people outside the club can access to learn about the breed and be connected with club members to get started on the breed. So lots going on there. We'll give updates on everything that we have done in the last couple of months. Also today, towards the end of the meeting, we're going to talk about elections. I don't know how many of you guys have read the complete Constitution and bylaw. I have, but I haven't memorized it yet, so I keep on going back and learning new things, and it's got outlines kind of the procedures for elections. Our Constitution and bylaws require us to have elections every year, and 50% of our board members will be shuffled out every year. So what that's doing is it's creating 4 board openings that will come into effect in 2014. So we'll just talk a little bit about that and what the board does, and hopefully plant some seeds for people that want to get more involved in the club. All of our past meeting minutes are available online. If you don't know how to get into the club house, I think it's called the Legbar Club House. Here's some instructions. Go to Google, find the Google Groups section, click on My Groups. You should all be invited to have the access to the Legbar Clubhouse. If you don't, just send an email to either your regional director or one of the officers, and we'll get that added to you. And then you can go in and search through all of the files and find all the minutes. We'll go ahead and let Linda take a few minutes to highlight some of the things that we covered in the last meeting.
Okay, you want me to run through the last meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, they can access
all right. Last meeting was Saturday, April 20th, 2013. We started out with our roll call. We reviewed our meeting minutes from the last time. The treasury was at $1,658.80. Membership report showed a total of 94 members, 53 voting members, and 41 associates. Club business, we discussed the Fancy Feathers Club table that Curtis Hale ran, and had a auto-sexing chick contest and a few birds that were entered into the open classes there at the poultry show. We also had the results of the February layer contest, and mentioned that we're going to do another one in August, which is still in the plans. We had 8 people participate in the photo contest. We also had a coloring page contest, and there were 3 participants in that who submitted pictures. Updated the committees that the proposed standard of perfection was submitted, and it was published in the newsletter that followed the meeting. The website was announced as a work in progress still, and the history committee said that they were working on the final stages of editing for the long history. Publication committee has got the newsletter down great. The elections committee, we mentioned that we were starting to think about upcoming elections for this fall. Contest committee, we announced that there would be an essay contest, and we also announced the club membership directory, which is now open and actually has been doing very well. Associates are included by name and state. Full members may include contact information and other things. We had a short discussion about the color charts and color cards that are used, for example, with the Americana breeders. They have an egg color chart. We also mentioned the online auction color chart, which is a whole range of colors, not just egg colors, that may be useful for members to be able to compare feather colors, leg colors, egg colors, and so on. We voted on a logo and settled on the logo. Final result was 11 votes for logo A and 3 votes for logo B. We started a question and answer panel about breeding for improvement. It included feedback from April Howerton, Susan Shaw Cooper, who's in the UK, Maria Oakley, Curtis Hale, and myself. Oh, I mistyped that. Anyway, we started working on that a little bit, and then we had technical difficulties with the audio. There were some feedback issues and some echoes, and we had to cut the meeting short. We did conclude that question and answer by calling for questions to come in through email, and then we sent out an actual list of the questions and answers from the panel members later because of those technical difficulties.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and propose that we go ahead and accept those minutes from the last meeting unless there's anyone knows of any corrections or amendments that need to be made. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments, so I think that's all correct. So we'll go ahead and accept those minutes and go to membership report. Do you want to continue with that as well, Brenda?
Sure. We have a total of 111 members, 62 voting members, which means full members. We have almost an equal separation into the demographics here. The South is a little bit heavy. We have a lot of members in Texas. 34% Southern members, 17% Central, 23% in the Western region, and 26% in the Eastern region.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, does everybody know what region you're in? If not, raise your hand or type something or say something. We've had regional maps posted in previous meetings, but we obviously have new members. We're up from 94. We did this last quarter, so if anyone doesn't know what region in, this is just us getting feedback. Raise your hand. Okay.
Not seeing any raised hands. Real quick comment, and we need to make sure before I forget, we need to make sure and get that regional map into the handbook. That's an important thing to have in there. I hadn't realized it wasn't in there, but we do need to get that into the handbook.
Just for those of you that don't know, we do have our first member in Hawaii now, so we're really spreading across a lot of time zones from the UK to Hawaii. And here's Kathy Klein's lovely video that we can't show. She is our treasurer. She is picking up her sister at the airport right now, so she can't be with us tonight, but this is her treasurer's report. As was reported in the minutes, at our last quarterly meeting, we had $1,658.80 was our balance. Since then, we've had new enrollment as far as new full members joining the Cream Legbar Club, and we are up to $1,765.85. Just so you guys know how the club runs, I don't know how I don't know how our IRS status is set up. I can't remember how Kathy explained that, but we're required, I think it was. We are not
set up as a nonprofit. We are set up as a social club, and that allows us to be exempt from certain reporting, IRS reporting codes. And as long as we don't take in more than, Kathy would know the number, it was immensely huge, like $40,000 a year, then we don't have to worry about any kind of reporting to the IRS.
Okay. And I was trying to remember what percentage of our actual treasury was required to come from membership dues. I think it was really high, like 80%. Do you remember?
I don't remember, but you're right. Yeah. There was a requirement about that as well.
Yeah, so we do have the members.
But we decided probably it wouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, so anyways, just so you know, we can't go out and sell hatching eggs or chicks or anything to raise money for the club. It all comes from the members. Okay, moving along, reports from our committees. One of our biggest committees that has been doing tons and tons of work is our publications committee. We've now distributed 2 quarterly club newsletters. I've been very impressed with the quality and content of those newsletters. I don't know. I'll ask questions about this later as far as feedback. Another big thing that they're working on right now is a club handbook. This will be something that we'll distribute to all new members when they join the club, and it will have, I can't remember everything that's in there, but it will have a list of all the officers with their introductions so they know who the officers in the club are. It'll also have tips and instructions on how to navigate any meeting, quarterly meetings. It'll have our club history in there. It'll have the standard of perfection. They'll have the regional map and contact information. So this is a big thing that they're working on, and it's coming along quite nicely. Also, our online directory of members now has had 52 names added to it. If you remember back from a few slides, we have 111 members. That's about 50% of the members have already opted into that directory. So a good thing that's going forward with the club. Just another feedback question. How many people have seen and read the club quarterly newsletters? I'm going to find my hand up here. Okay. Here we go. I raised my hand. But, didn't let the hands go up. That's good.
Most of them.
Okay, awesome, good. Because I don't know. At the end of the meeting, we're going to mention that we are sending out a newsletter, or not a survey, which will give us more feedback. But trying to find out what things the club members like the most, and if I don't know, I might be biasing or swaying a vote here, but I think that newsletter has been one of the biggest values that I'm getting out of the club, just because so many new themes in there together and easy to read. Okay. The other report that we have back right now is from the History Committee. We started doing research last November, I believe, trying to track down the true history of the cream leg bar. If you go out on the internet and search, 5 or 6 different breeder sites in the UK, you'll probably hear 5 or 6 different variations of how the cream leg bar was bred and kind of came into existence. One of the things that we did as a cream leg bar club is we tried to track down primary sources so we could see what records people were basing their different variations of the history on, and really get down to the roots of the history and find out everything we could about the breed. The result of that is we've come up with a complete list of all the crosses that were used to create the cream leg bar. These came out of about 3 different breeding projects that the University of Cambridge breeding program was working on. The one that you usually see on all the different breeder sites includes Chilean hen. If you see the top of that left-hand column, you've got a gold penciled Hamburg, which was crossed with a yellow Chilean hen. That's what we always hear about. And, that was the beginning of a study that was done on blue eggs. They did have some brother-sister pairings to kind of see how the blue egg gene was passed. And when they started doing those brother-sister pairings, a recessive gene, which was later called cream, came out of that project. And they didn't really study any of that cream gene for about 3 or 4 years after it was first discovered, but later they did do a complete study just on the cream gene. And for that study, they actually isolated the cream gene into what they call the cream-based brown leghorn. And so that was the second project. Simultaneously, they were also working on autosexing breeds. So if you look on the right side of this chart, they had a Plymouth Rock at the top and a brown leghorn at the top. Yeah, they were making gold Legbars, and towards the end of that project, they also found that same cream gene in the Legbar project. These were the first 2 recorded instances of the cream gene ever being formally noted or recorded in the UK. They were both in the same facility at the Cambridge University breeding program, so they decided to cross the lines to verify that they were the same gene in both projects, and they proved that they were. All of the offspring from these crosses were all 100% cream, and so we have these nice brown leghorn cream-based birds that lay blue eggs, and that's what what has evolved into the cream legbar. Let's see. I don't think I'll stop for very many questions on the history, but if you have any, if you want me to slow down, just raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll go on to the contest winners. Okay, let's see. We've had 2 contests since our last meeting. The first one that we're going to report results on was the cutest chick contest. This was a very successful contest. We've done a couple just to let people, be involved in the club and share their birds and get to know each other. This has been the best participation of any of the contests we've done. So here's the winner, Rosie Cotton, who is in Emily Evans Schnee's flock. So congratulations, Emily. This is second place, Canning, who is in Rinda's Myers flock. It was, or something. One of the pictures she took and submitted. So congratulations, Rinda. And finally, we had another submittal from Rinda and submittal from my wife that took 3rd place. Okay. How's everybody doing? Do we need to stop and do any discussion or questions? Anything on the lines?
Alyssa said there were many cute chicks and it was really hard to vote. Hey, I got an email from Kesslin. She mentioned that she is able to listen in. She was not able to get into the website again. This has been a problem every meeting that we've had. She's been a silent listener that we haven't known was there. So she said she is listening in and she can hear us.
Okay. Well, that brings a question for me then. Do you have the list of descriptions of the officers for the positions that are open?
Yes, I do. I have an announcement from her if we're ready for that. Are we ready for the elections? Okay. All right. I will read. She forwarded an announcement to me because she wasn't sure again if she would be able to get in. So I'll go ahead and read that.
Okay.
It says the Elections Nominations Committee is pleased to announce the start of election season 2013. Nominations will be accepted July 17th until August 14th, and we will vote at the 4th quarterly meeting. All members will receive a detailed email this week explaining the nomination process and the position descriptions. The following board positions will be available. You need to be quiet. I'm on the phone. Sorry about that. The following board positions will be available for the 2014 to 2015 season: Vice President, Treasurer, Central Regional Director, Eastern Regional Director, and the following committee positions are also available: an Elections Nominations Assistant, a budget audit assistant, and a website assistant. It was also proposed that rather than voting at the meeting, since we do have trouble with attendance at the meeting, that it would be better to do have people send in their votes by email or set up a poll for voting, and that way maybe at the fourth quarterly meeting, then we can announce the winners and start transitioning people over. That's something, Curtis, that you and I and the other board members, you need to go talk to Daddy if you need to talk to somebody. The other board members can help work that out, and we'll get all the details to everybody later this week.
Okay. Yeah, and just plan on that if you're at this meeting, that we'll have results at the next meeting. And Linda, you had the list of responsibilities that you sent out in an email to the board members earlier. Do you have access to that right now, or are you able to go over?
I do. You want me to go over the descriptions for the available positions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with the vice president and just let people know what that position is, and let them know what it is. Trying to plant seeds here for people that want to get more involved in the club.
Sure. Okay, Vice President shall, this is from the Constitution and Bylaws. It says the Vice President shall assume all the duties of the President in his or her absence and assist officers and the Board of Directors in accomplishment of club goals. The Vice President, now this is not, that's the section that comes from the Constitution and Bylaws. The Vice President shall oversee all the committees and training and encourage them in their projects and responsibilities. This includes any planning or follow-up meetings deemed necessary by the Vice President, Board, or any committee. So they're basically in charge of keeping the committees running and keeping track of making sure they get reports from the committees for the quarterly meetings and to keep up to date on where the projects are at. Okay, next position that's open.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say a note on that.
The next
we had
position.
A report from the Publication and History Committee today. We also have Standard Perfection Committee, Technology Committee, Budget Committee, and I think I'm missing a few others. But yeah, there's a lot of committees there. So yeah, the person that fills that spot will,
Yeah, we have 6 committees total. Some of them are a lot more active than others. For example, the Publications Committee. I'm on the phone. No, go talk to Daddy. Actually 7. Sorry, I missed one. 7 committees. The Publications Committee is very, very active. Other ones like the APA Acceptance Committee, SOP Committee, that one's pretty low-key right now. We're kind of building momentum on that, but it's not everything moving all the time, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Okay, the next open position is treasurer. Kathy Klein has been doing that, and she will be passing duties on to a new treasurer. And I have the section from our club constitution. It says, the treasurer shall be responsible for all financial transactions of the club and shall maintain all financial records, accept and deposit all monies, and pay all club expenses and purchases. The treasurer shall prepare a treasurer's report for every meeting of the club and participate in an annual audit of the club's financial activity. The treasurer shall work to make a smooth and orderly transition to his or her successor. In the event that the club is disbanded, all money and assets shall be donated to the charity designated by the Board of Directors. The treasurer shall work with the Board of Directors to prepare an annual budget for the Crane Legbar Club. The treasurer shall file any paperwork or forms needed by the IRS. And that's what we have overall for treasurer. The last thing that we have open are 2 slots for the regional directors. And I guess it's a good time to say you do need to live in the region that you are over. If you live in New York, you cannot be a Western regional director. Sorry, that just wouldn't work. I think that goes without saying, but just to make sure there's no misunderstanding there, you need to live in the region that you want to run for. Okay, Crane Legbar Club Constitution and Bylaws says the regional director shall represent all club members of their region at the Board of Directors meetings and coordinate activity within their region. Regional directors shall represent the Crane Legbar Club at poultry shows in the region when possible. Regional directors are not expected to attend every show, but if possible will attend one or more each year and have a table or booth to register new members and educate about the breed. Each regional director shall make a quarterly report about club activities in their region. Do you want me to go over the committees that have openings as well, or leave that for the email that will have all that in it?
Let's leave that for the email.
Okay. Those are the 3 main positions that we need to fill this year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess any questions about that? If you guys want to discuss any more, raise your hand. Yeah, just I guess look for more information on elections, and if you are interested, let us know, and we will go on the list of nominees. The other contest, we kind of broke these up and did, broke these up, but the other contest was the essay contest winner, and Rinda Myers, she was our contest winner, and I'm going to let her choose to either go over her essay now or else defer so that we can just chat.
Sure, I'll go through it really quick. Hang on, let me open my presentation.
Time to talk about whatever we want. Chickens.
Yeah, I won't make this very long. It's kind of hard to not be the winner when you're the only entrant, but I was the winner by default, so let me go through this. My article was about shipping eggs. Being that the cream Legbar is a fairly rare breed and that there are a lot of problems with color and stock and whatnot that we've seen already so far with this breed, it's really important that we're able to share with others, especially if we have good stock or if we have stock that complements the problems that they're having in their flock, that we can ship eggs across the nation. And I've done quite a bit of this. A couple things to talk about before I really get into the article is that if you are shipping eggs across state line, you are supposed to have your NPIP certification. It's done through your state agricultural department. You can just look up online. Like for me, I just looked up Oklahoma Agricultural Department, and it pulled it up, and there was a little place on the side where it said poultry, and I clicked on that, and it gave me all the details on how to get the NPIP certification. And I had the tester come out. We tested all of my birds. It took us about an hour and a half, including all the paperwork. It was not a big deal. The hardest thing about staying NPIP is you cannot bring any birds or hatching eggs onto your premises that do not also come from NPIP flock, or you lose your NPIP status. So if you like to buy and sell and trade chickens, then NPIP is a difficult thing unless you actually take the class to where you can test your own chickens. So just to make sure we're staying within what the law says, if you're going to ship hatching eggs, you do need to have your NPIP certification. It's not a difficult thing to do, and it's important to make sure we're following the laws with that. Also, each state has their own import requirements. You need to research on the state you're shipping to and make sure that you can ship to that state. Most states, it's not a big deal. If you have your NPIP, for instance, in Oklahoma, NPIP tests for typhoid pylori and avian flu. Those are the 2 things that they test for when they test your flock to get your NPIP certification. Some states require more, some states require less. And so obviously that's going to change things when you're shipping across state lines. For the hatching eggs that I recently sent to Hawaii, not only did I have to get a special certificate from my state agricultural department, I also had to contact Hawaii's agricultural department, provide all the documentation, tell them exactly what eggs were coming in and how many, and they had to actually ship me a special import permit that I had to take to the outside of the box. So you've got all ranges. Some states you can just ship them out, no big deal. Other states there are some requirements, and you just need to check that out before you do to make sure that they don't run into problems in the future because you didn't do things right. So that's just kind of some basics for shipping eggs. I ship my eggs through the post office. They are the only ones that I've used, so I don't really have anything to compare it for. When you're shipping eggs through the post office, I would recommend you call your local post office and ask them a couple of questions. You want to ask them what is the distribution point in their area for the mail. For instance, I have a post office that is 2 miles away from me, but I don't take my eggs to that post office because they're going to put them on a truck and send them to the distribution point, which is about 10 or 15 miles away from me. And to save the eggs the extra trip and the extra time and the chance that they're going to sit in a hot truck, I drive my eggs straight to the distribution point. So that's something you need to think about when you're shipping eggs. Also, the time of day. You need to know what time of day their mail is picked up so that your eggs don't miss the mail and get stuck overnight an extra night. If your mail trucks usually leave at 4 o'clock and you show up at 3:45, your eggs are probably not going to get on that truck for that day. So because I want people who get my eggs to get the best hatch rate possible, I try really hard to work within the bounds that the post office already has to get my eggs to people as quickly as they can. I can't control the eggs getting shaken up, but I can control that they get there quickly and wrap them very well. The third way that you can make the distance shorter is to request a hold for pickup at their local post office. That way they don't go on to the local truck and get driven around all day in the heat and down who knows what bumpy gravel roads trying to get to their house. So if they'll do hold for pickup and be willing to go in and pick up their eggs when they arrive, again, that saves the eggs a little bit of a journey and might give them a better hatch rate. Some people don't want to do that. Some people that I've shipped eggs to have said, please just send them to my house. I don't have time or I don't have transportation and I can't go pick them up. And so, you know, there's only so much you can control when it comes to the post office. But if you work with what the post office can do, you can have better hatch rates in the shipped eggs. There are lots of ways you can pack your eggs. A lot of people just wrap them in bubble wrap. Another thing that can help is to double box, put them in bubble wrap and in a box, and then cushion them in like some packing peanuts or something within a second box. A little bit more on the materials, but it does protect the eggs better during the shipping. There are special foam egg shippers, and I could have found a picture of them and shared it, but I didn't think to. But basically, it's shaped kind of like an egg carton, but it's foam. And depending on the size, some of them hold like 36 eggs per one, or you can cut them down so they can hold a dozen at a time. And those foam shippers work really well. They're a little bit expensive. I do have them myself and will use them on occasion, but my preferred way that I prefer to ship, and some of you have received eggs from me, I use pipe insulation. And so here's, oh, well, let me step back then. Back to the post office. There are a couple of different ways to ship. You can do priority or you can do express. Priority mail is going to take 3 to 4 days, especially if it's a couple states away from you. And so it's going to take longer, but it also costs less. And a lot of people, when I tell them how much express mail is, they're like, oh, no way, send them priority. And that's their choice if that's how they want to ship the eggs, but it does take longer to get to them, which can affect your hatching rate. The other way to send is express, and it is more expensive. For instance, priority mail for a flat rate box is usually under $20. Express is going to cost you $40. So it really is a big price difference. The other differences in shipping, you can use the flat rate boxes that are free at the post office, and that is what I do. If you provide your own box, the cost goes by the weight of the box. It is cheaper, but then you have to find a box. And the other problem I have is with the flat rate boxes and the packing method that I use, I know exactly how many eggs I can fit into each type of flat rate box. When you start getting your own boxes or they're coming from different sources, you kind of, it's no longer a streamlined process. You've got to stop and figure out which box you're using and how many eggs each box can have. So I just use the flat rate boxes myself, but you certainly can use regular boxes. The one thing I would say, do not use a flat rate box and mark out flat rate to get the cheaper shipping. I have had eggs shipped to me that way, and I had to pay the difference. So don't use a flat rate box if you're not going to pay for the flat rate shipping, because it can backfire on your customer. So, okay, here's my supplies. You can see in the picture here I've got some boxes. I've got a medium box and a large box. I ended up using the medium box. This was for an order of 12 eggs. I've got some cream Legbar eggs there and some black copper Moran eggs. I've got packing tape and scissors and a ruler, my invoice, bubble wrap, And you can see right there that is actually pipe insulation. It's 1 5/8 inch inside diameter, and I actually ordered that online. I found a place that if I place a $50 order, it's free shipping. So I get $50 worth of foam pipe insulation, and I just work out of it until I'm ready for some more. So you take your box and you measure the inside height, and you cut your tubes just with I just use heavy-duty kitchen scissors, and I cut the tubes so that they fit perfectly into the box. A little bit tight is better than a little bit loose so that they don't bounce up and down in the box. And then, as you can see, I'll stuff a little bit of bubble wrap, or sometimes I'll use crumpled paper if I'm out of bubble wrap, down into the bottom. And you can see in the picture on the right that those ones are filled. It has an egg in it, and it has bubble wrap on top. The ones in the middle has bubble wrap on the bottom and then an egg, but I haven't covered them yet. And then the ones on the left, there's just bubble wrap down in the bottom, and I haven't put the eggs in yet. So once you get a medium-sized box will hold 14 eggs. So that gives a 12-plus order, lets me put in 14 eggs. So you get your tubes and you put them in and load them up. And then when I'm done, I don't have a picture of it. When I'm done, I take my invoice and I write on it a note that says, remove the tubes slowly, because if they just pull those tubes out, those eggs are not taped in there in any way. And you could probably tape them. It would add time to what you're doing. But if they'll just take the tubes out one at a time slowly, there's not a problem. But they just need to know, pull the tubes out slowly. You don't want the egg to drop out the bottom. Then I tape it up, and you can see that the top bulges just a little bit because I cut those tubes a little bit long so they pack in there tightly. I print all of my shipping labels off. You can order directly from USPS.com. You can go in there and type who they're going from and who it's going to and pay your postage online. And so when I go to the post office, I just have my son run the package into the counter. He doesn't have to wait in line or anything. He just steps on the counter and tells them it's already paid for, and that's all I have to do for shipping eggs. So it's not as hard as it seems, and I don't want any members to be worried about how are these eggs going to get there. If you want to share your eggs and share your stock with others, it's not hard to do. You just have to know the proper steps to take. So that's my presentation.
Thank you, Renda. That was excellent.
Whoops, I opened the wrong one, didn't I?
Okay. Well,
I was trying to open your...
Yeah, that concludes our business portion of the meeting. So at this point, everything's open just for questions and discussions. We can talk chickens or ask people how their weather is or anything you want.
Someone had mentioned on, excuse me, on the Facebook, the UK Breeders Facebook page, I was trying to explain to them how the cream gene was working. Does anybody want an explanation of that? I think most of the people on here are pretty familiar with that, but we could run through an explanation of how the cream gene works if anyone is interested.
How what works?
They didn't understand why a bird that was overly chestnut, why some people are saying some of the UK breeders saying that's not even a cream Legbar. And they said, well, how can it not be a cream Legbar? And they said in their opinion, and this is going to vary from person to person and how they feel about the breed and how they feel about chickens, I guess in general, if it doesn't have two cream genes, it's not a cream Legbar. And I think that's a little bit strong, but I'm not in the UK where I have the option to get better stock. You know, they see some of our birds and they say, throw them away and start over. Well, that's not an option here. We have what we have to work with, and we just got to make the best of it. So rather than saying throw it away and start over, let's say, well, let's start with what we have and work from there. The cream gene is called IG, inhibitor of gold, because it's actually a diluter gene that dilutes the gold color of the bird, the gold chestnutty color that people are complaining about, the gold color of the bird, and makes it a cream shade. Where do I go from there? It is considered a recessive gene, so if there is only one copy, it doesn't show up. if there is only one copy of the inhibitor of gold cream gene, the bird will look gold. Cream Legbars are genetically a gold-based bird. All birds, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Curtis, all chickens are either gold-based or silver-based, if I understand correctly. Cream Legbars are gold-based, and so this inhibitor of gold, this cream gene, lightens the gold color to look cream. So technically they're not even really cream, but this dilution gene makes them look cream. And so when you have two inhibitor of gold genes, the two recessive genes mask the gold and make the bird look cream. So the problem we have in the U.S. is a lot of our birds do not have two cream genes. They have one or they have none, and we don't know which one it is because it doesn't show up either way. And so the person that I was talking to, I was telling her, it's possible to start with a gold bird, but you have to know how to test mate. You have to test mate the bird and find out if it's carrying the cream gene. If it is bred with a cream hen and that rooster never produces any cream chicks, then you know it has no cream gene. You've got nowhere to start from it. It would be better to try a different rooster. You could try one of its offspring, but you'd be in the same boat, not knowing whether the boy you chose that was his son had the cream gene or not. And so I think it's a little strong to say without the cream gene it's not a cream Legbar. In some ways, yes, that's true, but it's something that can be fixed. It just has to be done carefully. Anything you want to add to that, Curtis?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it would take 2, maybe 3 generations, and you can bring the cream gene back. Anne is asking on the chat how to test if it has the cream gene. If you've got, for instance, a rooster that looks gold, what you need is a hen that is definitely cream, and if you will mate them together and hatch out their offspring, and it's a long process, obviously, because you're using test mating to look for the cream. And if you grow out their offspring, I can see the cream. Oh, Anne's asking the other way around. The other way around would work too. If you had a gold hen, you would need to have an obviously cream rooster, and you do the exact same thing. If you've crossed them together and raised their offspring, I can see the cream gene, what would you say, Curtis, by 10 weeks?
Yes.
Sometimes earlier, but by 10 weeks for sure. So you'll need to cross them and incubate some eggs and raise out the offspring. And if you raised out, I would think you'd want a control group of 15 to 20. Then you should know if you have no cream chicks by the time you get to 10 or 12 weeks, then that hen, gold hen, does not have a cream gene. She does not have the cream gene at all, and that would give you your answer. Does that make sense, Anne? Okay, she said that answered a question. Anybody else have any questions about the cream gene? I am by no means I'm not a geneticist. I don't work with genetics. This is just things that I have learned figuring out cream Legbars. So feel free to jump in and correct me or add to it if anyone knows more than I do. On-the-job training, Emily says. That's right, on-the-job training. Curtis, you know a little bit better than I do. Will you explain for a minute what we've learned about this possibility of the barring genes? I don't understand it as well as I do the cream.
Gene?
Yeah, the different barring genes.
Yeah, I'll attempt to explain it. Let me think. I don't know. Assume that you have a box of Crayola crayons. One is blue, one is blue-green, and one is, navy blue. All of them are blue, but they're all a little bit different. That's basically what we have going on with the barring gene. There's 3 or 4 different barring genes which all create a barring pattern, but they're not the same. I've been told that white leghorns have a barring gene in them that is different from what the Plymouth Rocks have in them. the cream Legbar has both Plymouth Rock and white Legbars, or Leghorns. I'm going to say it wrong every time. White Leghorns in their background. And so the theory is that there's different barring genes and that they dilute the chick ground to a different extent. And so basically some of the barring genes do more diluting and some do less diluting. They all create bars, but that's the theory is that basically the different barring genes are creating different shades of Legbars as far as the light down and the dark down.
Yeah, that's what brought up the questions, was why do we have some chicks hatching out light and some chicks hatching out dark? And it is also true that the barring can be stacked. You can have birds that carry more than one barring gene. So, for instance, I know I get light and dark chicks, and so I know that my rooster carries multiple barring genes.
Yeah, so if you have the blue and the blue-green both scribbled on the same piece of paper, you're going to get darker color than if you only had one. So,
right.
Yeah. So.
Kesslin just sent me an email. That's how she's updating me through the meeting. She said that she's run through with some basic punnet breeding squares for test breeding on the cream gene. And she said she has it on her blog, and she'd be glad to write an article to go in the newsletter about that. And I told her that would be great.
Okay.
And Norman's asking in the chat if one barring gene is preferred over another in cream Legbars. I don't know if we know the answer to that yet.
The answer that I have, I hope it's the correct answer, is that the barring from the Plymouth Rocks is the preferred barring gene. And the one
but is that the dark barring or the light barring?
Yeah, the one from the white leg horns, I'm going to say it wrong every time, white Leghorns is the dark barring, and that's not the one that is preferred. The Plymouth Rocks, I guess, the light barring, and that's the one that is preferred. And how you know which one you have, I don't know. I don't know how to figure out all this genetic stuff, but that's what the circles have been talking about.
Great. I think that's good. Amy Marie Thomas mentioned, we had a couple people, Kesselman, that said, yes, please write an article. Amy Maria Thomas mentioned she has a pullet that looks like she has bands of white on her tail that are much broader than the barring on her body. I'm not 100% sure that's the type of barring that we're talking about. Curtis, can you clarify?
Oh, I was just going to ask how old the pullet is.
Yeah, how old is the pullet, Amy Maria?
Is it less than 16 weeks? About 12 weeks or so? Because I've seen I've seen some that do get the white barring in the juvenile age, but usually by the time they're laying eggs, that white tail barring is usually gone. And others.
Yeah, Amy Maria said that it's 17 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the more of the color we're talking about, when you look at, for instance, when you look at a rooster with a front-on shot, some of them have a much darker chest barring than others. Is that more what we're talking about with the barring color?
Yes.
Okay. So, and maybe that answers your question. I know particularly in the UK, they've got some very, very light-barred birds. And although my rooster is definitely double cream, he has very dark barring on him.
I just want to say another thing about barring. The barring genes, all of them, do a much better job at diluting black pigment in the feathers than they do red pigment in the feathers. So also depending on the color of your bird, if you have one that has a lot of the red chestnut color in it, you'll get a little bit different barring than if you have one that doesn't have as much red in it. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing with those pullets that have the white on the tail versus the ones that don't. I think they just have a little bit different ground color to where.
So you're saying if they have more red on them, it's going to hide the barring?
Yes, because the barring gene is not as effective on red pigments as it is on black pigments. That's why we have the Plymouth Rocks, which are a black breed, and we don't have very many barred red breeds. We do have, I guess, those road bars and hemp bars now, but there's not very many barred chickens that have the red color just because the barring doesn't work as well. More smudgy bar than a crisp bar. But anyway, that was just another comment that yeah, different ground colors of the birds will affect the barring as well.
Right. Well, are there any other questions then, or anybody else want to chat chickens, something we can all talk about or ask a question about? Alyssa just asked a question. She said, I see in the treasurer's report there wasn't a line for the cost of any meeting, but we did play for 1 month. Yes, that is correct. I believe because it went after the day that she made the report, it won't show up until next month. But it was,
yeah, the report was
I should know, I'm the one that paid it. I'll have to look it up just a second. It was $78. It's a monthly fee, but I did ask them, and they said we can go in near the end of the month, or I'll probably do it right after the meeting so that I don't forget. Go in afterwards and unsubscribe from the monthly fee. And so we won't be charged for it every month, but any month that we want to use it, we can sign back up, and it's $78 for the month. They have recently, it used to be that we could record the meetings for free, and they have changed that. Now you have to pay if you want to record the meetings. And I don't know if it seems any better. Those of you that had trouble in the past when we had, they seem to think that the advertisement bar on the bottom was causing problems, especially if they had a slow upload speed. I've not had problems with it in the past, but I've got a new computer. So if you had problems in the past, did anybody feel that this was better this time? I know that Kesslin still couldn't get in, but she did say that she thought her problem was more related to her computer.
Yeah.
Amy Maria Thomas said she does think it was better.
Okay, good.
Was it better for you, Curtis?
I didn't notice a difference, but that could be just because I didn't have a comparison. It's been 2 months, 3 months.
Kesslin did send me a quick email talking about the barring. She said light and dark barring is obvious if you have some of each. Dark barred girls are darker along their neck and their hackles. Lighter barred girls are lighter in their neck and their hackles. They won't have any black up in the barring. If they're a lighter hackled, it won't have as much black up there. Dark barred chests are desirable on roosters, but it doesn't mean they have the dark barring. And also the same thing Curtis said, that barring does not dilute the autosomal red. So kind of along the same lines of what we were just discussing. So thanks, Kesslin, for saying that.
Okay, any more questions? I guess I'm going to go ahead and the meeting.
Sure. Ann says she'd love to chat chickens, but she has to go out and walk hers up. I think it's about that time for all of us. Great.
Okay. So you want to second that motion then?
Good. Good meeting, guys. Thanks so much for dropping in, everybody.
Okay. I guess it all disappears as soon as Brenda closes it.
Yep. I was just making sure if anybody had any notes to say, okay, everybody's just saying their thank yous. All right. Good night, everybody. Look for the meeting notes later this week and the election stuff and anything else that I'm forgetting. Newsletter. Newsletter will be coming up soon, too. So, okay. Good night.
Thanks. Night.